is 3 pounds. This is
Wow.
3 pounds, give or take.
That's your brain?
That's the brain size. That's the average brain size.
Mhm.
But it's based on your body size as well. Okay. So we're going to talk all about the brain. So last time Carrie talked about memory, right? And where is memory stored? Does anybody remember?
I'm gonna guess. Behind the ears.
Close, a temporal lobe, but it's called, what brain area did she probably talk about?
Hippocampus.
Hippocampus. Yeah, hippocampus. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. And we have 2 hemispheres connected by, we'll talk about the corpus callosum. So on your picture there, you have the corpus callosum that transmits information from the left hemisphere to the right. Okay, so we're going to talk about different brain structures and what they do. Right. So how many people are right-handed? Okay, that means most of your language is on the left hemisphere. So you're right-handed, you right, left hemisphere is controlling your right hand and opposite. Okay, your left hand is controlled by your right hemisphere. Okay, and why that occurs, we don't know, but it's crisscross. And the corpus callosum here is responsible for relaying information left and right, left to right. That's why things like skip roping uses both the left and right hemispheres and skipping. So kids can't do it till the age of like 4. Okay, because it's using both brain sides. All right, so our brain, how many neurons? How many people have heard of neurons? They're like cells in our brain that allow us to communicate. How many neurons do you think we have?
Millions.
Yes, trillions. We don't know. Neuroscience does not know. But I'm going to just focus on the brain, okay? And neurons communicate at an awesome rate. Okay, so when Einstein died, did he have a bigger brain than us? This is a trivia question.
I heard no.
You are correct. He did not, but he had more dendrites, more neurons, more connections than most average people. So his brain was well connected.
Oh.
Yes. And
Need to be closer to this.
oh, sorry. Okay.
Were
So
they smaller or were they
there were just more of them.
more? So there's room for more.
Yes.
The person who doesn't have much brain power have less and smaller or
Yeah, so you can have an average sized brain and more neurons, more densely packed. So you communicate very well. Like Einstein could communicate and think of thoughts better than the average person because he had more neurons. So really the responsibility of thinking and thought is the neurons, how many densely packed they are. And that brings us to the evolution of the brain. Okay, so in evolution, you look at my rat brain here. Sorry, I have a real rat brain. I didn't bring it. But what's different on the diagram to the rat
I
brain?
haven't switched on a Zoom, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Oh, sorry.
With Einstein, did he develop more neurons?
Good.
Or was he born with more?
Good question. He probably developed it. So use it or lose it. So
Yeah.
one thing we know about exercising, it produces nerve growth factor, and that produces more neurons. That helps you, it's like fertilizer for your brain. These make all these new connections. Okay. Yeah, so exercising is good. Aerobic exercise, 20 minutes a day, keeps the doctor away and keeps everything healthy. So what I have here is I want to talk about our brain did evolve. It got bigger and it fits into the skull. So what happened, do you notice if you look at the rat brain versus the human brain, what is the difference on my slide here? So look at the slides. Can you see the rat brain? What's the difference between a rat brain and a...
It's really smooth.
It's smooth. Yes, exactly. It didn't have to evolve. Ours has these lumps. Okay. So they call it gyri and sulci. So in evolution, our skull couldn't get bigger because of childbirth. So it scrunched on itself. Okay. It started to have these sulci and gyri, hills and valleys. And so if I spread this out, our brain is actually 3 feet by 3 feet. Okay. So it's packed in there. We can't do much more, but produce more neurons. Okay. So it's how we. So what's interesting, how we measure intelligence is we take body weight we take brain weight, divide it by body weight. Okay. And so we know that higher cognitive skills are in like dolphins and whales because their brains are so big. If you've ever seen them, they're huge. So we have a formula for primates and dolphins. And of course, humans are way over there. Our brain compared to our body weight is significantly enlarged. Okay. And we've evolved this. Why do you think our brain had to evolve become bigger? It's usually because the environment was unstable. And so we had to figure out how to use fire, how to, develop a wheel, how to do that. And as we did, our brain became larger and folded up on itself. Okay. So we're going to talk about the brain parts. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the hindbrain. So the hindbrain is this back part. So this is how the brain develops. There's a spinal tube, okay, spinal cord, and then it goes into the hindbrain, midbrain, and forebrain. So think of the forebrain as the newest brain, the cortex, cerebral cortex, and lobes that really help us think, okay, cognitively. All right. And I'm going to do some coloring so that you don't get bored. So we have gray matter, which is basically unmyelinated dendrites, and white matter are axons. These allow us to communicate. So the biggest axon is this cortex right here. Okay. And it allows us to communicate. It's the corpus callosum. Okay, can you ever
front of the brain?
No, that's not in the front of the brain. It's in the middle brain, allowing left and right hemispheres to communicate. Yeah, we'll talk about that lobe. This frontal lobe is all our personality, our memories, all of that is in the frontal lobe. Okay, and we'll talk about that. So this is an image of gray matter, and we can see white matter. So a disease like MS, multiple sclerosis, there's less white matter. The myelin that's white in your brain is being depleted. So they lose motor control. Okay, I'm going to skip this for time. So the diagram you have is called a sagittal cut. Okay, it's cut right through the corpus callosum here. Okay, and inside you can see all particular brain areas. Okay. So this is what we have, a sagittal cut, okay? You can see all of the lower part too. So I'm again going to talk about the hindbrain, midbrain, and forebrain. So this is the hindbrain. Can you see my arrow here? This is like the reptilian brain. So all animals have this hindbrain, which is important in breathing, sleeping, wakefulness right here. And then I'm going to talk about the midbrain, okay? And then the cortex here, the cerebrum, is our crowning jewel, because as evolution occurred, our hindbrain our cerebral cortex got bigger and bigger, and our hindbrain is down here. So if you look at a lizard, it has a smooth brain and a hindbrain. So all animals have this hindbrain. It's for survival. Okay. Here's the coronal section. What's interesting about the coronal section is it has butterfly shaped, and that's called the ventricles. The ventricles have cerebral spinal fluid. Our brain is not just, it's setting in. Bouncing. So when you get a concussion, you're banging your skull on your head because it's all water filled. Okay. And we can tell if there's any problems like Alzheimer's. If the ventricles get enlarged, it means you have more fluid, less brain mass. Okay. So I'll skip that. Okay. But we also have a layer of protection in our brain. So outside we have the dura mater. Okay. In Latin, that's hard mother. We have arachnoid space, and then pia mater is a delicate surface keeping bacteria out. Okay, we call these the meninges. Has anybody heard of meningitis?
No.
Okay, what happens is your meninges get inflamed and you get a headache and you get flu-like symptoms. And if kids, it's really dangerous. As a mom, my pediatrician would say, if your child can't hit your chin to your neck like this, take her to the ER. Yeah, it's serious because your brain is swelling. And sometimes, you know, after an accident or something, it swells, they put it in a coma to get the swelling down. Okay, because our brain has nowhere to go because of our skull. Yeah. Okay, so the meninges are always fluid based. Okay, there's like a sponge. It helps us keep bacteria out of our brain. So that's why meningitis is so dangerous. Okay, and we have this ventricular system that produces CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, that is produced every day. It clears out dead cells or any type of waste. It's really important, cerebrospinal fluid. And if they think you have hydroencephalus, it's enlargement of water, these ventricles. Okay, I don't know if you've heard, like Billy Joel has hydroencephalus. It's like water on the brain. He's losing coordination, balance. Okay, it is serious. Yeah, and it is problematic. So don't ever take that for granted. Your brain is fluid. All right. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about the hindbrain first. So think of all your vital functions: breathing, heart rate, blood pressure is in the brainstem here. Every lizard has it. Okay. So we're going to start with the hindbrain and go up to the midbrain. Okay, to the thalamus. Now, the thalamus is very important in relaying information coming in through your sensory modalities to different parts of the brain. Okay, and what does the corpus callosum do? Anybody remember what the corpus callosum does?
Divides the brain.
Yes, very good. Yeah, and it allows you to transmit information left to right. Okay, again, we're talking about the hindbrain. Okay, then we'll talk about midbrain, and then the diencephalon, and then the big kahuna. I call it the cortex, the neocortex. Okay, so this is how they divide it. For our intents and purposes, just three: forebrain, the smart part, the convoluted; midbrain, mesencephalon; and hindbrain. Okay, all right. So the hindbrain is the medulla. That's weird. Let's see. There we go. It's not showing up. So the medulla is heart rate and breathing. Okay. You don't control it. How many people had a kid that said, I'm going to hold my breath? They can't. Your medulla will take over and say, breathe. And they will breathe, even though they're all red. And then the reticular formation is a small area that goes through the pons, the purple part, and the medulla. So it's for wakefulness. It directs your head to pay attention to certain things. Has anybody heard of the cocktail phenomenon? You be across a noisy room and hear your name called, and you will direct your attention towards it. Like if I heard Linda say my name, I'd go, oh, she's talking about me. All right, that's your reticular formation. We talk about a lot in sleep. So the pons and cerebellum. So coordination is the cerebellum. It's like that mini brain. Here sorry. So what we're going to do, the pons links the medulla and cerebellum is the balance, and reticular formation goes through both the medulla and pons. So to give you a break, so let's color the cerebellum. So the cerebellum is that like mini brain. It's so important. If somebody has a stroke that affects the cerebellum, they can't do stairs, they can't, their gait would be off. It's worse than, it's, you can ride a bike because of your cerebellum. You can ski because of your cerebellum. So color it any color you want. So the cerebellum. Okay, so the pons is just this little oval shape here. That's the pons. So you can color the pons, and the medulla is just below. Both are important: breathing, heart rate, sleep. So yeah, you can see it on, you should be able to see it on your scan. And you think of every creature having the pons medulla. We call this the animal reptile brain, okay? And it's basic reflexes functioning. So every animal has it. As we move up to the midbrain, we become more sophisticated.
And less reptilian.
What?
And less reptilian.
Yes. Yeah, so think of, your natural reflexes of doing something is the hindbrain. And then we go to the midbrain, and the lobes are really important. I don't know where my movie is.
You have a leak in it?
Yeah. Sorry, I had a little movie for you guys. It didn't show.
Well, where's the link? You could find it.
That's weird. Because it doesn't look like it's here. It's okay. It was at the beginning. Huh. Sorry, I had a movie for you guys, so it goes over all these structures.
Going forward though.
I know, yeah. But it was at the very beginning. Okay, well, we'll skip that. All right, so the next is the midbrain. Okay, so hindbrain to the midbrain. And this is a relay station from your forebrain to your hindbrain. Okay, it's going to relay information back and forth. Okay, so we have, we call it the mesencephalon. Okay, the top part is superior colliculi. You can see that on your scan. Okay, it goes all the way to the occipital lobe for vision. Okay, so basically information coming into the central nervous system goes to the superior colliculi to the lobe I'm going to talk about for vision. Okay, all right, and then inferior is auditory. All our auditory information goes to the temporal lobe. I'll talk about it. It's right by your ear. Okay, the rest we can skip. Okay, so this is the midbrain. The one area you may be interested in is the substantia nigra. That's holds a lot of dopamine. People with Parkinson's disease have less dopamine, okay, in that area, and tend to get the shakes. Okay, so moving up one more is the diencephalon. So this is bringing information into higher parts of the brain. So the thalamus is a relay station saying you need to process this visually, or cognitively, you have to think about this, or auditory. Okay, and the most important structures are the thalamus and hypothalamus. Okay, and plus the hippocampus is in there as well, and the amygdala. Okay, so this area, the thalamus, is a critical relay station. okay, for information coming in. Now, the hypothalamus controls appetite and homeostasis. So if you're hot, you actually get sweat to cool your body down. Your hypothalamus controls that. It also controls the pituitary gland. So if you have any thyroid issues, you're producing too much stimulating hormone, telling your thyroid gland to produce more thyroid. Okay. So it actually controls that pituitary gland that's just dangling right there. You see the purple? It's right there. It is controlled by the hypothalamus. Okay. Your pituitary, particularly your anterior pituitary, controls all your hormones that are released from your endocrine glands. Okay. Your thyroid, your pancreas, all of that, your adrenal glands produce, cortisol is controlled by the hypothalamus. So you're stressed, it's going to tell you to output a lot of cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, all those bad glucocorticoids that age you significantly, right? Okay, so you can see that. So I will stop there before we talk about the lobes. So go ahead and color the thalamus and hypothalamus. So think of it, the thalamus is the big oval shape there. The hypo is right underneath, and the pituitary actually is dangling. Okay. Oh, you need. Oh, yeah. Look at my blue folder there. Okay. Are there any questions?
I'm wondering if the reptilian brain gets larger if you're incarcerated for crime, murder, or something like that.
Oh, that's a good question. So people are really interested in forensic psychology. And the one thing we know, like Ted Bundy's of the world, is that they have a smaller amygdala. So amygdala is emotion. It's our emotional, how we express our emotions. If we short-tempered, mellow person, the amygdala is your emotional. And what they find is that psychopaths, when they're choking someone, they have no empathy. They're like, yeah, they just don't. Most people do, you wouldn't hurt anyone. So yeah, that's a really good question. We don't see it in all of them, but we see it in like people like Dahmer or Ted Bundy. So they look like, never judge a book by its cover. They have a, suit on. No one thought he would do something like that, but yeah. So definitely there's brain structure. So we don't know if that's he was born like that or after, like experience kind of degraded his amygdala. We don't know. We will probably never know, but that's a good question.
Can you sort of repeat the question for the folks?
Yeah. So the question was, do people that are psychopaths have a different brain structure? And the answer is correct, in amygdala. So we can put them in an MRI machine and see that it's not as active, it's smaller than a normal amygdala. Okay. So yeah, and I don't know if you guys remember, I'm going on a tangent, serious. So the Texas, this guy, I forget his name, but I showed the video. He was the first in the 70s. He went up to a tower at the University of Texas and started shooting people. Remember that? And he killed his mother and his wife and said, please look at my brain. There's something wrong with me. And sure enough, he had a tumor in the amygdala. So that kind of solidifies it. He knew there was something wrong, but he was very violent. Obviously, that was the first mass killing. And that occurred, I think it was 1960 something. Okay. All right. So now we're at the forebrain. Okay. We optic nerve. So your vision goes all the way back through the superior colliculi to the occipital lobe. So we're going to talk about lobes, and they are the higher process. Okay. and the limbic system, which is Carrie talked about, hippocampus, memory. And we have the amygdala. So if hopefully everyone's amygdala is fine. Emotional expression as well. Okay. All right. So this is part deep within the brain. So you can't really see it on your sagittal cut. Okay. You can't see the hippocampus, but it's there. It's your emotions, your memory. And memories that have emotion are stored in the amygdala. Okay, episodic memories. How many of you can remember the first time you got your license? When you were 16? How many people remember that? When you got your driver's license. Yeah, that was the happiest day of our life, right? Now we didn't have social media or anything. That was like whatever. You don't remember
We were 15 and a half.
yeah,
You had to have somebody drive with you.
right.
I'll never forget, my dad had a Buick, and it's so hard to drive.
Yeah.
Turn the wheel.
It probably didn't have power steering. My grandma had a Cadillac. We had a shift. I didn't know how to shift. So I had to use her car and had her park it. I'm like, oh, this is not good. It was a boat. Good old days. Okay. I'll skip that. Okay, so we're going to talk about the lobes. Okay, so they are the more advanced part of the brain. So we have the reptilian, then we have the midbrain, bringing information to the thalamus and hypothalamus, telling us how to react to the world. Okay, so now we have the lobes, the crowning jewel. So we talk about the temporal lobe, easy to remember, it's by your ear. Okay, and we'll talk about your frontal. Frontal lobe is important. It's all your thought, planning, thinking about vacation, things like that. Your personality is stored in the frontal lobe, and it actually is not developed till you're 25. So, you know, kids make impulsive decisions and do things, and you're wondering why the frontal lobe is not developed. And the parietal here in the turquoise here is your cognitive map, the world around you. Okay, it's sensory perception. And then, yeah, so I'll cover these. I do have a movie. Lobes. So let's take a break from me talking. We'll talk about the lobes for 2 minutes.
Welcome to 2 Minute Neuroscience, where I simplistically explain neuroscience topics in 2 minutes or less. In this installment, I will discuss the lobes of the brain and some major landmarks of the brain surface that can be seen from a lateral view. The brain is made up of two halves, known as cerebral hemispheres. When looking at the brain from a lateral view, which just means looking at it from the side, we will only see one cerebral hemisphere, but the landmarks I will point out are found on both cerebral hemispheres. The surface of the cerebral hemispheres is covered with a thick layer of brain tissue known as the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is folded to create more surface area, forming these ridges, known as gyri, and grooves, known as sulci. This large sulcus is known as the central sulcus. It divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. This sulcus is known as the Sylvian fissure, and it separates the temporal lobe from the rest of the cerebral hemisphere. The occipital lobe is found at the back of the brain, but it doesn't have such a clear division separating it from the rest of the brain. There are certain functions associated with the lobes, but any short description of these functions is oversimplified, as each is involved in many different processes. The frontal lobes are important for movement and higher-order cognition like rational thought, decision-making, and planning. This area in front of the central sulcus is known as the precentral gyrus, and it is essential for motor control as it is the location of the primary motor cortex. The parietal lobes are important for processing of sensory information and are involved in attention and our representation of the space around us. This area in the parietal lobe, the postcentral gyrus, contains the primary somatosensory cortex and is where the sense of touch is processed. The temporal lobe is involved in processing auditory signals and also is important in aspects of learning and memory. The occipital lobes contain major visual processing areas of the brain, like the primary visual cortex.
All right. Okay. So the lobes, the temporal lobe here, okay, on both sides of your ear, easy to remember, auditory. Okay, you process information left and right. Also language. Okay, we have this area called Wernicke's area that's important in language comprehension, and Broca's area, which is important in producing language. Okay, occipital lobe is in the very back. So if you did get hit in the back of the head, you would see stars. It processes all visual information. Okay, and visual association. Parietal lobe is right here. Okay, it's somatosensory. It gives you an idea of your surroundings. I know this one case study, this woman had a stroke, it affected her parietal lobe, and she would neglect half her face. She would put lipstick on one half of her face or draw a half of a daisy. And she was consciously aware, if you picked it out, say, you didn't finish the flower. She goes, I know, I didn't. And so she was neglecting half of her world. Okay, so the parietal lobe is very important in our somatosensory. Frontal lobe is really important, controls speech production, thinking, planning, impulse control. So if you have an 18-year-old son, you know, or daughter, I shouldn't say whether they're not thinking. And you think about when you were 18, did you do crazy things? Did you drive too fast?
Yeah.
Come on, you remember that, and you can say my frontal lobe was not engaged. And you see it, it's got to evolve. Unfortunately, you have to be safe. All right, so the lobes are part of the hemisphere. Okay, it's our crowning jewel. The convolution, sulci, and gyri or make us evolved. So we've gone from instinctual behavior, that hindbrain activity, which we need, to more thinking. You know, now we have the AI to think for us. What is that going to do to our brain? I have no idea. Okay, so here we have, I'm going to give you guys want a little quiz. Okay, all right.
You're too excited.
I didn't want to make it okay. So this is testing yourself. So don't worry, you can just test yourself if you want. So what is A? What do you think A is? Look at your you can look at it. So what is A? What is, yes, parietal lobe, somatosensory. Okay. What is C? What does that bundle fiber do? It's called, it should be on your, yes. Yeah, it communicates left to right. Okay. Corpus callosum. And what about D? It makes us think. We play games. We do puzzles. Frontal. Yeah, I know this. Think of like occipital ocular. Ocular means vision. Okay. E. It is a relay station. What is a relay station?
Thalamus.
Yes, good job, Nick. What's right below the thalamus? It's important, everything, homeostasis, appetite, regulating hormones. It's right below the thalamus. Yes, very good. Good job. Oh, before I give you the answers, there's some I blocked off because we didn't talk about it. So, what is G? That is controlled by the hypothalamus. G. So this one here. It's dangling here. It can actually detect.
Pituitary?
Yes, good job. I'll give you H. It's the peduncles. So don't worry about that. We didn't talk about, what we did talk about is J. What is that? Pons. Yes, that's part of the hindbrain. What about K?
Medulla?
Yes, Yes, very good. And our little mini brain here. It's important in cerebellum, yes. And in is our, remember, vision is relayed all the way back to the, you said it, occipital lobe. Oh, occipital lobe. Yeah, right back here.
So when they talk about the medulla oblongata, that's.
Yeah, yes, I do it for the medulla oblongata, yes. All right, so here are the answers. Okay. So you did really well. Don't worry, I'm not gonna test you like I do my students who do it like. Now, we learned from Phineas Gage. How many people have heard of Phineas Gage? Probably not. I should have showed the video. Phineas Gage. He's famous in 1800s. He was our first neuroscience case study. He got a rod actually that separated his frontal lobe from his limbic system and the other parts are higher order. And he became animal-like. His personality changed. And he surprisingly, he survived. We didn't have antibiotics, things like that. He survived, but they noticed changes in the brain meant changes in personality. And he was our first case study to evolve the science about studying brain and behavior. Okay. But before that time, we weren't sure what the brain did. Okay. So understanding the brain is important. It helps us understand behavior. So we know the mind and body are connected. Dualism is, if you think a pill's going to work, it's going to work. Okay. The mind and body are important. And we have advances in PET scans. I didn't show you all MRIs. You may have had one, and we can detect any type of problem, like enlarged ventricles. Okay. And understanding the brain helps us understand elements of what's happening at a molecular level. With all our technology, we can predict things. We can now help people that have tumors in the brain or beginning of Alzheimer's. So I want to share this video with you because I love this video and I think you'll appreciate it. So I want to ask you, what brain area is still intact in this woman? She has Alzheimer's. She's in a wheelchair, but she can do something really important. So I wanted to share this with you. Oops. And then we'll do some case studies for her. I hope you haven't shown this, Linda. This is so inspiring. So watch. Close.
Cariño mío, ¿cómo no va a emocionar?
What? Yeah.
Y tú no emocionas?
So she has Alzheimer's. So parts of her brain are being deteriorated. Her ventricles are enlarged. She's responding with this motor cortex, the hindbrain cerebellum. So what you see is she still has their motor memory. So things that she remembers, you can still do, like shift a car. I mean, I haven't shifted a car. I don't even know if I can, but riding a bike are stored in the cerebellum. Okay, so she knew all the hand movements, even though she probably couldn't say what the song was, like Swan Lake. Okay, so that's why the brain is amazing. It still can do things that, surprise you, even as it's being deteriorated by something like Alzheimer's. We call this in neuroscience neuroplasticity. It really, that you can survive a stroke and you can get better. You can recruit new neurons and get better. So there's this book called The Brain That Changes Itself by Noreen Dodgy, and it talks about this new way of thinking about when somebody has a stroke is rehabilitation very quickly. And this doctor got the idea of boot camp. Has anybody heard of boot camp for stroke patients? No. So what they do, so let's say I have a paralyzed arm, my right arm's paralyzed. He straps my good arm across here and makes me eat with my bad arm. It's not pretty at first, but it's rewiring the brain so that regeneration by the end of the 6-month period, they can, eat and be fine. So your brain has enough plastic in it to recruit new neurons to help you recover from things like that. Okay, so I think it's really important. Question?
A friend of mine had a very serious stroke,
Uh-huh.
and a couple of years, maybe I'm not sure. A friend of hers came when she knew that she loved music,
Oh, right.
and she started to sing. And as she started to sing, she was also able to start talking.
Oh, yeah.
By the time that she passed away, she was able to carry on a conversation.
Yeah, and people can do it. They have to really engage and have therapy and do it every single day. Yeah, and they can recover. I mean, I think that so many times they just feel like they give up. So part of it is having someone to talk to every 10, a 10-minute conversation for the brain is great. Being social is great. Having, exercise in there is, all that helps your brain stay young because it keeps you as a super ager. All right, do you guys want to take my case study? This is hard. I give you some case studies to think about. Okay, let's do one together. JR has been walking with difficulty lately. He says his balance is off. What brain area is important in balance? What would it be? Close, but it's like, yes, thank you. KR can recall the past, but form no new memories. Doctors think she may have damage in what's important in memory. You said it once. I put you on the spot, so that's not fair.
Response.
Because anybody remember? Carrie knows this one. Close. It starts with an H. Yeah, so it's not on your scan, so that's not fair. But it's how we get all our information into the brain is a relay station or a brain structure called think of hippos on campus. Hippocampus. So that gives you all your information. How many people have heard of HM? HM was our first, he had surgery. They took out his hippocampus. He could not form new memories, but could remember the past. He could, every day if I met you and said, my name is Linda, I go, oh, okay. And then I go, what's your name? And she would say Linda. Or maybe she wouldn't. But anyway, so we need our hippocampus, and we need to get memories through the hippocampus to talk about them. Okay. So that was a hippocampus. The brain area part of the midbrain important in relaying visual information to the occipital lobe. This is on your scan and it's a hard one. Let's see if we can get it. Is there any structure I talked about in the midbrain that goes to the occipital lobe? It's called the superior colliculi. That's okay. Yeah, it's a hard one. What about the brain area important in personality and planning ahead and injured in Phineas Gage? Yes.
The frontal lobes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's not developed until you're 25. So the things you did at 18, blame it on your frontal lobe. All right, any questions? So here's the answers. Cerebellum, hippocampus, superior colliculus, and frontal lobe. All right. Any questions?
Can you talk about kickboxing and football briefly?
Oh, do you want to talk about the injury or what it does in terms of,
What's your thought?
well,
It's not like
football,
I'm doing a lot of kickboxing, so you have good motor control.
right. Yes, yes, kickboxing is very good. I think, standing on one leg and practicing that as you age is really important. Balance exercise like yoga. And I know you do some balance exercises, Linda.
Well, I know that kickboxing is actually part of Parkinson's therapy sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, any type of exercise. I know in the kinesiology department, they're doing bicycling for Parkinson's and trying to,
Will demonstrate kickboxing.
yeah. I know my nephew does it. I should start. I'd probably follow.
Campus president knows more about it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's standing on one foot and kicking out, doing that kind of stuff. Oh, it just, but with your feet. Oh.
Kickboxing is good. Yeah, I'd rather you kickbox than play football. Football is bad for your brain because they have helmets, but if you get a concussion several times, it causes dementia. It causes Alzheimer's. It causes personality problems. Yeah, we're seeing ex-football players dying by the age of 50. It's a problem. Yeah. Sayers, some other people that USC, they've donated some of their brains to a brain bank, and they've noticed they have plaque and the tau protein we see in Alzheimer's. So they are having cognitive issues, memory issues, personality issues if it's the frontal lobe. So it's, yeah, I wouldn't have my son or daughter. And even heading the ball, I was a coach for my daughter's soccer team. I said, no, a coach wanted to practice that. I'm like, not on my, nope, no. That constant, it's not supposed to be yeah, I'm so anti that. If I had my way, everyone would be wearing helmets in the car. My husband laughs at me. Yeah, it's really bad. Any other questions?
Yes, I'd like to know what the current thoughts are about the use of marijuana since they've legalized it. A lot of people are saying that it doesn't hurt you, it's mild,
Yeah,
and then on the other hand, I hear many people who are And you've done tests and have statistics
Yeah.
prove that it makes a hole in your brain.
It wouldn't make it whole, but it does affect memory. So it affects your short-term memory, like where you left the car keys. They say IQ stays the same with long-term users. I don't know. Short-term memory goes by the wayside. You forget your lunch, your keys,
Yeah,
everything. Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
And what's
So-
not that haven't tried in years.
Marijuana. So there's
Never had it. We don't.
Me too, yeah. I think it helps people sleep and calm down as an anti-anxiety and a sleep inducer.
Yeah.
I know people that use it for sleep, they take those gummies. My friend, bye Jane, thanks for coming. They take the gummies, but I haven't tried it. I'm just not into, I'm into holistic melatonin, but even that, you got to be careful
Mhm.
because it can make you dopey and drowsy the next day. It stays in your blood a long time. The half-life is like,
Well, ordinary cigarettes kind of do that too.
yeah, nicotine. Yeah, I wouldn't, that's stimulant. It actually helps memory, but I never smoke.
It's so addictive.
Oh, it is. My dad passed of COPD with smoking. Yeah, it's not, I'm not a fan of any smoking.
Horrible.
Yeah, even these,
Emphysema.
yeah, emphysema is the worst.
But even, yeah, caffeine is very addictive.
Yeah,
You get a headache if you don't have
I'm addicted to caffeine too. Yeah. But it's not, it's pretty benign. It has good things about it, it's reduces diabetes because it allows you to,
I said, what is the best food for, I'm trying to think of what I asked Google, and they said coffee. Oh, for the liver.
yes.
The best thing for liver is the.
Oh, really?
That's what
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah. Wow. Let's check. Yeah. Google now. See, that's the problem with all this AI stuff. We got to be careful because sometimes, you can put stuff in, and my husband put something in and he's like, that's not right. He's a kinesiologist. I'm like, yeah, something about blood pressure. And he's like, that's just wrong.
There's a difference between having like 2 cups of coffee in the morning than drinking it all day long.
Yeah, because you're not going to sleep, right? Yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful about anxiety too, because it can make your hand shake and, it is addictive. Just cut yourself off at 2 cups. You shouldn't go over 500 milligrams. That's what the going, yeah, of caffeine. So,
They're putting that caffeine now in, what is the water?
Joe water or something.
It's called, what is the water that's called something, you have circulates your body, what is?
Electrolytes.
Electrolytes. They're
Yeah.
putting- with electrolytes, putting active caffeine.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The Red Bull and stuff, not good. Because it has niacin and all that. Taurine. They think they're being healthy. They're not. All that stuff is bad for you.
Red Bull?
Red Bull, don't drink it. Drink Gatorade versus Red Bull.
I had a cousin was drinking Red Bull
Uh-huh.
and I met him. I had gone to a funeral together, and he walked into the glass
Yeah.
because, and I asked, what's going on with it? Oh, nothing wrong with it. Then his sister tells me he's drinking Red Bull all day long.
Oh my gosh. You can have a,
All day long.
cardiac.
He just completely just walked into the glass.
Yeah.
No, didn't see.
Yeah.
Get a break.
No,
Well, that's good. He didn't break
He
his
ended up,
nose. Oh,
Oh,
no. I didn't know if the people have.
Anybody in Zoom land have questions?
Oh, Marianne. Hi, Marianne.
Oh,
Sorry.
thanks, Kim. That was great. Very, very great.
Thanks. Thanks for coming. Be nice to your brain.